Hey guys, so this video here is the one where I'm using the Hiossen CAS kit drill to lift the sinus membrane up a little bit. This patient didn't have enough bone in that area. I just wanted to show how really well made that casket is. That's the one thing I like about Hiossen over any other implant company is their side products for like ridge augmentation, sinus lifting. I don't see any other implants like Nobel or Zimmer making them. Just really, it's for the into Crestal approach for sinus lifting. It's the must kit have. You must have it. So here's a good video showing it. All right. Okay, here we go. So this is a video specifically about the Hiossen sinus lift casket drill kit. Basically, it's a real, well, this right now is just me laying the flap, but while we're laying the flap, let me kind of describe the sinus lift kit that Austin has made. It's real, it's for the intracrestal approach, and basically they use these kind of drills that have a non-cutting end. So it's like a blunt end that doesn't really cut. Mainly the cutting is done kind of on the lateral sides of the drill. You'll see it later on. So you don't really tear the sinus membrane once you hit the floor. You know, it really works really well, I gotta say, you know, especially if you're dealing with cases where there's a good, 7, 8, or 5 millimeters of bone, and you want to place like a 10 millimeter implant. I find that the implant's retention is really good for the cervical area, so as long as you get that down, I mean, the apex area, I don't think really matters. I mean, it's hard to describe, but honestly, when I see like a good amount of bone there, but not quite enough, I'll just do the lift, and I will not put any sort of synthetic bone or anything like that in that space. I think if you just lift the membrane itself, and then the implant will kind of push up the membrane like a pole or tent pole, and the bone will form, and it'll be enough, and you avoid the risk of any foreign things floating in the sinus space should there actually do be a tear. So I think the school is out. So here's a drill. That's a special drill. It comes with stoppers, right? So you can change the stoppers on these drills and get to the desired depth and width that you want. So in this case, I was going to place a 5 by 10 millimeter implant. So yeah, that's the casket drill. You want to have it on a very lower RPM. So I think maybe 800 is good, because the maxillary bone itself is pretty soft as well. So you don't need to do like 1500 or anything like that. Just take it down half a notch, and then yeah, just be slow and steady with it. And you're gonna go through your normal drill progression. But yeah, it's a really, really good system. I mean, I think even if you don't use Hiossen for your implant system, go ahead and buy just the sinus lift kit. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lateral window approach maybe like once or twice. That's it, really. And they both went well, but I mean, I feel like I would only use lateral if there's like under 5 millimeters of bone left, and you really need to kind of build up the space there with the bone. Then you can do lateral. Otherwise, I'm just going to do Crestal, lift up the membrane, not even put in like a bone graft, just have the implant tent up the membrane. And honestly, I think it's just a way safer, better approach that way. So okay, so once you drill, you're going to take this little tool here, and that's your kind of floor. You're using tactile sensation to feel the floor, and you will feel it. If you do drill into the sinus floor, that little instrument you just saw will have a certain feel to it. It'll start to feel soft. You can tell right away. And basically, yeah, that's what you're doing. So we're going to more depth here. So you got to work in increments. You start like, let's say you have a 8 millimeter floor, you're going to put a 10 millimeter implant. Start at like a 6 millimeter stopper, 7 and 8, and work your way up to the final size, right? So I know there's a lot of theories on like, do you put graft in the sinus space? I think, yeah, for cases where there's not a lot of bone and you know the implant's not going to be stable enough to integrate, yeah, go ahead and put the bone. But I mean, if you have 5 millimeter enough bone and you're getting like, plus 30 Newton torque resistance, I'm pretty confident that that implant is stable enough to integrate. And in that case, I would just raise the membrane. Do not put bone. I mean, sometimes I'll put like P or CGF, like I'll draw blood from the patient, centrifuge it, and then I'll have this like I think it's called CRF. Like it's kind of like a somewhat of a clotted blood serum, right, with a lot of concentrated growth factors, and I'll put that actually inside that lift space rather than actually put in like some sort of graft, synthetic graft, right? I just don't like the idea of synthetic, allograft floating in someone's sinus space. I feel like that's just like a really easy way to, if something were to go wrong, to have really bad like pansinusitis infections and things like that when you put foreign type of material into a space like that. So if you're gonna do that, be really careful. Okay, so this is the other cool thing here. This is a little hydraulic pump. So the way this system works is you're going to go to the floor and then lift up the membrane hydraulically. So this is a little water fluid pump system. And basically, yeah, you can see me kind of aspirate it, and you see the blood coming back in, air bubbles. So that's a really good sign that your force lifted. And it's really, really nice because you press gently, the hydraulic pressure of it. I mean, that's just so much of a safer way, I feel like, than even like opening up a lateral window and trying to hand instrument the membrane off the floor. I mean, you're going to get tears that way for sure, man. But if you use like water, gentle force, I mean, just water, hydraulic pressure pump, I think is used in many industries to lift many things. There's a lot of applications that use hydraulic pressure to move things, right? It's a much more efficient, gentle way than actually hand instrumenting a really thin membrane, scraping it off the floor. That's, you have to have a lot of technical skill to do that. Hydraulic pump is more easier for everyone to do. So no hate on guys who can actually, or sinus lift masters, I'm sure they're great, but just because you're, master one technique doesn't mean all other techniques are no good. We should always have an open mind about stuff. So anyways, here's the implant. I'm going to place it in, and when you do these, the bone's soft, so make sure you angle it correctly. Do a good job there. I always like to make any final adjustments in angulation at this part. So I got really good torque on this one. Like I think I got like above 53 Newton. So it worked out well. I'm using also Implant motor, W&H. I love that company. I'm using a Wi-Fi foot pedal. This really good system. So I always go with W&H. I've used Cavo too. It's not the same. So I highly recommend W&H for your implant motor systems. Checking the bite occlusion, angulation. I'm happy with it. So we're gonna put in the rest fully in, and hand torque the rest. And this is very typical maxillary lift type case for me, for a maxillary implant. Funny story, the very first maxillary implant case I've ever done was actually a PRP lateral window case. It's really funny. I mean, I had no business doing that kind of case, but that's how my implant career started off. Patient, she was a grandma, she wanted 2 implants. Pneumatized sinus, nothing there, so I was like, oh my gosh. Well, she's like, go ahead and go for it. So wound up doing a lateral window, putting a bone graft in this space, putting 2 implants, and it's still good after like 10 years now probably. So it's really, call it beginner's luck, I guess, but that's how I got started in implants. And honestly, still learning today. Every case you learn a little bit, something new, different, but it's really crazy how I got my first implant case. And that was really, I think, one of the last times I did the lateral window after that, Well, no, I did a couple more after that, but that was my first very implant case for maxilla, was a lateral window. My very first case was a mandibular molar, but the very first maxilla was a lateral window, 2 implants, sinus lift case. Pretty crazy. On top of that, I mixed the bone graft with PRP, so looking back, boy, sometimes you're too inexperienced and dumb to know what could go wrong or anything, You just do it, and I guess you can get lucky, it can work out for you. You just try and try to see things through. But yeah, Oh yeah, so you were suturing. I'm sorry I'm laughing, it's just, funny when I think about that first case. I really had no business, but guys, that's how you learn, I guess, You learn through trying and taking chances. Just make sure you have a very good patient that understands and who's on your team, basically who wants to work with you, And case selection, patient selection, guys, is the most important thing. I would never do a case on someone I didn't really trust as a patient. It's not even worth it. Yeah, no matter how easy or the money, because yeah, you want a good patient-doctor relationship always, always. That comes first before anything else in dentistry. All right, so that's it for this case. That's a maxillary CAS kit drill implant case. Thank you.